Hi, welcome to the High Press. I'm Dino, and today we're going to look at
Reality versus Opta.
exciting, eh? Well, at the start of each season, Opta combine their complex algorithm and predict the Premier League table. So, 13 games in, is your team a winner, a loser, or meh? We'll take a look at each club's top player also while we're doing this according to SofaScore, and I will predict from here my league finish. So let's kick off. Opta prediction number 1 in first place, surprise, surprise, Manchester City. Their top player is Rodri, according to SofaScore, at a rating of 7.93 out of 10 on average over the 13 games, which is number 1 in the entire player list in the Premier League. It's not surprising that they're still in the mix and expected to win the title still. They've got free scoring from all areas of the pitch, and they also have most goals so far this season with 33. That's 5 to 6 goals ahead of their title rivals. If you score a lot, you're going to win a lot. The elephant in the room is FFP. So let's see if any punishment from their 115 charges by the Premier League will come this season or drag on even longer if found guilty. For me, don't shoot me. They will be second. Sorry, Man City fans. Opta number 2, they had in second place Arsenal. And Saka is the 4th best player in the league according to SofaScore, average of 7.68 out of 10. Arsenal were my pre-season tip for the title. Even though I got mocked for it, there's still a selection of fans that think Arteta is not man for the job. But with an obvious weakness in a world-class striker and goal threat like Haaland, January must be a key factor for Arsenal to push them on. And the news that Arsenal are chasing Ivan Toney, could he be that X factor? I think he probably could. But they've also got the meanest defence in the league with only 10 goals conceded in 13 matches. Listen, they'll push to the end of the season and I still back them to take the title. At number 3 on Opta's list is Liverpool. Actually, Opta, they're not that smart. They've got a smart, complex algorithm, but it's the only one they've got right so far out of all the 20. So 3rd place prediction, and this is where they are now. Salah is the top performer with 7.79 in 3rd place as the best player in 3rd best player in the league. Listen, they're always going to be there or thereabouts with the quality they have in the squad, and they've probably got the best attacking threat up front along with Man City. It's always going to give them a chance. But with the new midfield bedding in and the players like McAllister not capturing his Brighton form yet, this season could be a step too far for the title. I will stick to 3rd place due to that amazing forward line. Opta prediction in 4th place, Manchester United. They're currently 6th, with Fernandes at 7.65 out of 10 as the best player for Manchester United and the 6th best player in the league. Amazingly, through all the trials and tribulations of this season, on and off the pitch, Man United keep plugging away with Ten Hag wearing his full metal jacket to deflect player unrest, some fan unrest, and media pressure on his job. Underperforming in the stats are players like Rashford, whilst players like Anthony, Casemiro are underperforming also this season. Bringing in an old school centre-back line could halt their progress, but they are grinding out results. A lot of pressure's been laid at young Højlund's door. So for me, a transition year this year and try to make the top 4 like last year before going again with a more balanced and happy squad next season. They don't make the top 4 for me this season. It's 6th for me. In 5th place on Opta's list is Newcastle, and they're currently 7th, with Kieran Trippier, amazing dead ball and passer, fantastic amount of assists at 7.51 out of 10, the 11th best player in the league according to SofaScore. Okay, so they are 2 down from pre-season expectations of 5th, but they have given us some great football this season, I'm sure you would agree. They've got a fairly balanced and strong squad throughout the team, but don't forget the Champions League factor too. Most teams that enter that for the first time in recent times expect to have a drop-off in the league. It doesn't help that they're in the league of death either, does it? The key this season is keeping Eddie Howe when Southgate exits the England job, but for me, not top 4, These are 5th place for me. In 6th place on Opta's list is Chelsea, and they're currently 10th, with Gallagher at 7.38 being their best performer, and he's number 22 in the SofaScore list in the league. Listen, I know a couple of Chelsea fans, and they go from elation to despair from week to week. I thought I was bad as a Forest fan, but they've actually got it even worse. I'm actually surprised that Opta put them down in sixth, to be honest. I would have had them down for 8th, especially after the management turmoil over the last 2 seasons. But a new manager, new formation, new play style, and 33 arrivals and 27 departures since January, Chelsea fans might want to lower their expectations a bit for this season. But an 8th place finish feels right for me. In 7th for Opta is Brighton, and they're currently 8th, with Gross in at 7.44, the best player for Brighton and the 16th in the Premier League. Listen, fans of the channel know that I'm a big fan of Brighton. There's got a lot to admire about Brighton. They're the most profitable club last season, but it must be frustrating for the fans to find the club has dug up a plethora of wonder kids only to sell them within 2 years. For me, they define sustainability, but again, on the flip side, will they ever push on and be successful? For me, no, not with a current buy cheap and sell high model, but 9th place is a good performance this year for me. Opta's 8th place side was Spurs, and they're currently in 5th, with Maddison being the shining star bought from Leicester in the close season. He's at 7.91 and is the 2nd best player in the league, according to SofaScore. Now, I've made it clear on this channel that I love Ange Postecoglou. His play style and attacking and defensive phases of the game is a breath of fresh air, if not a little naive at times, but it's a breath of fresh air. The downside is, in this exciting season for Spurs fans, is that they don't quite have the cover for injuries. And this is really shown in the last few games. With the recent game against Villa, saw them dominate the first half, but completely gas out on their feet the second half with players dead on their feet. January is key for Ange to push on, but I do see Spurs top 4 this year grabbing 4th place spot. And number 9 on Opta's list is Aston Villa, with the top player being Douglas Luiz on a 7.52 in 9th place as the best players. Listen, Emre, what an amazing job he's done since taking over from the struggling Gerrard side. This weekend saw a big win versus Spurs away, and that took them to an incredible 4th place so far. Can they retain it? Well, I also think about the strength of the bench during times of injury, and I think we'll see them fall off the pace a little bit because of this. It's just my opinion. It's just my opinion, Villa fans. I think January onwards, we'll see them slip eventually to 7th. So that's my finishing spot for Villa, which is a good season. It's a good season. Okay, we can now come to the mid-pack, and Opta have put in 10th place Brentford. Currently in 11th. No surprise, and Mbeumo at 7.45 is the 13th best player in the league. But the loss of Tony through injury and potentially in January for those circling clubs like Arsenal should keep them around mid-table for me. Lots to like about Thomas Frank though, even though he would chew his jaw off to oblivion before the season ends. It's 12th for me. In 11th place, Opta predicted West Ham, and they're currently 9th, with new signing Ward Prowse. People just thought it was a set-piece take, a dead ball situation man, but he's proved otherwise. He's got 7.5 and is the 12th best player in the league. A fantastic year last year in Europe saw West Ham fans have high expectations this season, maybe a little too high, especially when they landed Ward Prowse. He's, like I say, he's one of the best dead ball players in Premier League history for me. The arrival of Kudos was a master move, but their lack of natural striking options will keep them 10th for me. Number 12 in Opta's predictions is Palace. Ever the 11th place team, but they've got them as 12th this year, with Eze being their top player and number 15 on the Premier League list with a 7.44. This is the epitome of a mid-table club. They always produce talent, but again, like Brighton, struggle to keep hold of them. For me, a decent squad with a couple of star players that could fit into any top 4 side. But Roy won't be there much longer, and this is a key area for Palace to get the next De Zerbi in like Brighton did. I expect them to finish a little bit lower at 13th this year. In 13th place on Opta's list is Fulham. They're currently 14th, with Leno, the goalkeeper, at 7.22, being the 45th best player. And it only goes up to 50, by the way, and then they don't count it anymore, but being the 45th best player in the Premier League. Fulham are a strange one. Never has it felt since Stan Collymore at Forest that a team is reliant on one player as much as Fulham was with Mitrovic. Yes, they play nice football, but they are suffering without him. And goal scoring is a major problem. A goal scorer in the front positions in January, that's key to bring them back to the top half. But I expect a 15th place this year. In position 14 on Opta's stats are Wolves, and they're currently 12th with, no surprise, Neto, fantastic player, being a 7.38. They've bought in some great players. Mateus Cunha for €50 million. He's an energetic forward. He was there to strengthen the forward line, but it's still early on for him, and he's got 2 goals and 2 assists already, so he needs to sort of bed in a little bit more. On paper, Wolves' attacking players should be in the top 10. I expect them to finish 11th this year. Number 15 on Opta's list was Burnley, and they're currently rock bottom, with Johan Goodmanson on a 7.04. 7.04 doesn't make the top 50, by the way. Falls into the also-rans, but it's the best player. According to SofaScore, not me. As Burnley had recent Premier League experience under Dyche and with a play style under Company that won many plaudits last year, Burnley were expected to finish above the drop zone. Unfortunately, as I know as a Forest fan, the Premier League is a cruel place and they sit bottom with 1 win from 13. There are 5 points adrift, but they've also got the equals lowest goals scored at 10 and the second worst goals against tally in the Premier League at 32. And they need to change something on the pitch for me. And I would imagine the January transfer window won't bring in anything special. I don't think they've got the funds. So it's down to a change in tactics, or dare I say manager. I think they'll recover, but only to 19th. I'll try not to wax lyrical here. This is my own club, Nottingham Forest. Opta predicted 16th. Bolly is their main man in defence at 7.3. 31st in the Premier League list, according to SofaScore. My own club had a difficult start to the season in terms of the difficult fixture list to start with, but they've also played the Premier League's promoted clubs at home, picking up only 4 points from 9. Steve Cooper's side is still in transition with a ridiculous amount of new players brought in since promotion. And the owner, but the downside is, or the upside, the downside, depending on which side you're on, the owner's expectations of becoming a great club again is very high. But in the most, fans see this as a longer-term project with Cooper at the helm. There's an obvious weakness currently in terms of players on the bench in attack. When you get a couple of injuries up front, we can't pick up many points, in my opinion. And it will be difficult for Forest to break the top 10 this season. Last season, I predicted 10 more points. This season, I'm not sure, but I'm feeling a little bit positive. But my positive is 14th place in another year of building. In 17th place on the Opta list is Everton, and because of the points deduction, they're currently 19th with Tarkowski as their top player on a 7.27, not making the top 50 list. But being docked that instant 10 points and by not complying with FFP was a major blow. But with 2 wins and a draw from the last 5 games, Everton do look as though they can still escape. The key is keeping Calvert-Lewin fit, as I cannot see them plunging funds into the transfer market again in January. Still, I have them to survive 17th this year. Coming down to the final few, number 18, they had Bournemouth, and they're currently 16th, with the goalkeeper Neto on a 7.23. I always worry that the team's not doing well if the goalkeepers get the player of the team. But with Bournemouth improving their recent form with 3 wins in 5 games, they just need to continue scoring a few more and conceding a few less. I know that sounds obvious, but in just a small way either way. They spent a huge amount in the summer for Bournemouth, so the expectations from the fans must have been mid-table. But I think they'll be a safe 16th place. In 19th place, according to Opta, is Sheffield United, and they currently sit in 18th place, with again their goalkeeper 7.15 Fodringham as their best player. Again, nowhere near the top 50. But they are struggling and will continue throughout this season with not many funds to go out and buy anyone or buy their way out of trouble. And Most of the time when I've seen them, they've also employed a very defensive back line for most of the season with a 5 at the back. But the fullbacks aren't getting up the pitch, they tend to get pinned back, which does kill the modern overlapping style down the wings these days. The problem on paper is goals conceded, with the most in the Premier League at 34, but this league can be cruel if you try and defend for 90 minutes. I'm sorry to say, Sheffield United fans, nothing to do with the fact that I'm a Forest fan, but I think you'll finish bottom. And finally, predicted 20th, but actually 17th, is Luton Town, with their forward, Ogbene, with a 7.05, sharing that with yet another goalkeeper, Kaminski. Luton are scrapping for points, and they're winning a few plaudits here and there. People admiring that they're going for it. And they do look more offensive than the other two that I've got going down. The two teams that got promoted are definitely less offensive than Luton, but with no major signings or stars, they're going to have a go. But with 5 points from the last 15 available, they are improving. But unfortunately, due to the first team and bench options, which is a key thing in the Premier League, you don't realise this, I have these to go down at 18th. So who's generally the overperformers? You've probably picked it up from that. But the overperformers are Villa, which are actually 4 places above what Opta predicted them. Then we've got Spurs, +3 places. And then we've got Luton at +3 places. The underperformers, Burnley, -5, and Chelsea at -4. So I hope you enjoyed that video. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.